Boom. Okay. All right, everybody. So Mary and Joseph here with us. Mary and Joseph, that was awesome. That was awesome. And Joseph and Mary. So we'll get rolling. If others come in, great. If not, all of you watching the recording, we missed you and love you. And we're going to talk about some awesome things today to level up. So in fact, I want to just throw this out there to me and to you and to Mary and to Joseph. Like, oh, and Stacy. Stacy's here. Yeah, hi, Stacy. Like, what are you working on? Like, what? This. I know this is gonna be a super big, vague. I know it's a big, vague, general question, but I just want to get a feel for like, what are you focusing on? And even this could be like a little bit of a coaching session here. Like, what's a pain point right now? What are you struggling with? What are you frustrated with? Like, or what are you focused on? What's working? And what's fun, and the reason I love to ask this question and get into it is because it changes for me all the time. And as you go through stages of life, it just seems like there's this oscillation. Like sometimes you're like really focusing on something, and then sometimes you're like, are you kidding me? Like I'm struggling so much with this thing that I used to not struggle with, right? And the more coaching clients I'm getting, like I'm getting, my coaching is getting stacked up. It's awesome. I do lots of coaching lately. I'm really enjoying it. And I hear that a lot from really great people who are really successful in a lot of areas are like, hey, I'm really struggling right now with something that I didn't struggle with before.
And the point being, this is a coaching type group, and coaching is always more effective when you focus in on what the needs are, because I mean, there's endless topics you could cover or discuss or teach, preach about, but if you can get into, well, yeah, what are you struggling with? What questions you have? What pain points you have? What goals you have? Then that's when the power comes in, because it's actually matching up with what you need rather than, hey, we're teaching about this over here and I've got that mastered. So, right? That's
love it. Yep. Yeah. That's where I'm going with it. So get a feel for it. So what are you doing? What are you working on? What are you excited about? What's working? What's not working? What's catching your attention right now in life?
Mary's got something, but I've got something. Go ahead. Start with Mary though.
Okay. So Mary said, we're working on getting settled in a new city with new jobs, new homeschool year, looking for a new van. Okay. So you're feeling it right now. There's all this, like, oh my goodness, I have to do all these things. And I don't know about you, but like I love Newness, and Newness is an opportunity for a lot of growth and learning, but it's always pretty stressful.
Well,
like new can be uncomfortable, but good.
New also can be time consuming. Like when we have goals and things we want to work on and accomplish, always dealing with new can take up time. Like I know when we've done lots of different things in our lives, but there's been times when we've been on the move traveling, and when you're going to a new grocery store in a new city, like every week.
That's my favorite thing in the world, by the way.
He loves it.
I love it. Thrive on it.
You have to admit it takes a lot of time.
It does. It's consuming.
It's time consuming because you're in a brand new, it's enjoyable, but it also takes up a lot of time because you're like wandering around looking, well, what is this? I don't even know what this is. And do they have butter, and where can I find it?
But then poor Greg Denning feels like he's dying inside if he has to go to the same grocery store month after month.
Month after month.
Oh, my life is so terrible.
And I'm like, hey, at least we know where stuff is and we can find it and get out of here. Like, it doesn't have to take forever.
They all speak English, blah, blah, blah.
And it's in dollars.
I'm not figuring out new currency here. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah. Great.
Oh, my guys, my life is so hard. We should throw a pity party for me. That's funny. No, I really love variety. I love the newness. But you're right.
But once you get settled, like Mary's talking about, then that's when you can like start thinking about other things, get growing on the long-term goals.
Which she's working on new certifications to get more ESL class bookings. I love that. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, Stacy says, working on ways to streamline and refocus. I'm feeling really overwhelmed with all the things at the moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, great insight there. I was speaking with, I can't Can't remember. But it was a homeschool mom. And like homeschooling was just this big daunting thing right now.
One of your coaching clients.
Yeah, it was one of my coaching clients. And she's like, I have to restructure everything. I need to rebuild a new system. Like I got to stop. I got to pause. I got to say, this isn't like what we're doing right now isn't working. And so basically really what you're saying, Stacey, is like, okay, how can we like mix things up, refocus, like streamline it all, get systems in place to where we get things working. I'll share this. I shared this yesterday. I'm going to share it again. I even made a video and a podcast about it, but I'm going to share it today again in here because it's just been on my mind. In fact, all of you could do this for a minute. Everybody grab something small within arm's distance. It can be your phone. It can be a book. Everybody grab something small. You too, babe. Grab something small within arm distance. I'm going to do too. And hold it out, straight arms. Hold it out to the side or front, right? Okay. And we're just going to do this while we talk here for a minute. And Joseph, I can't see you, man. You better be doing this. I want you to do it with like a 50-pound dumbbell though. All right, bro? Okay. So if you got your arm up now, in all sincerity, like all honesty here, how long can we hold this up? This isn't heavy, right? I'm holding my phone. Rachel's holding a little book. How long can we do this? It's light. Give me a number. 5 minutes. Okay. Rachel's going to hold her book here for 5 minutes.
Real man.
Yeah, baby. Mary, you should have said like 15 or something. Okay. What's going to happen around 3 or 4 minutes in, you guys? And you can turn on your mics here and we can talk for a second.
I can't. My arms being...
What starts to happen?
It's going to take more concentration to hold it up because your arm's tired.
Okay. Oh, man, you nailed it. It takes concentration. Isn't that funny? And if it takes concentration, it necessarily removes focus on other things. Pretty soon here, you're going to have a hard time listening to me. Right? And we're trying to have this dialogue here, and all of a sudden, the burn, are you guys starting to feel a burn in your shoulder yet? Rachel, you burning?
Yeah.
Right through here? Okay, this is where I'm burning.
Right here.
Right? Stacey, you feeling some burn yet? Yeah, she's got her arm rested on a bookshelf over there off camera so we can't see. She's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I can do this all day long. No, but it starts to burn in the shoulder, and then what happens after the shoulder? It actually starts to burn, in your arm, and then in your neck, and then in your back. And all of a sudden, this thing that's so light, you guys, none of you are holding anything that's big. It starts to cause a lot of pain and discomfort, and it really starts to distract us, right? Is this distracting you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm starting to sweat, right? Because that's what my body does. I raise my body temperature. Rachel's starting to sweat. Now she's like, oh no, they're going to see me sweat on camera. No. Okay, we're going to share something about Rachel. She abhors sweating. Okay, we're just going to throw it out. She has sweat issues from her childhood. Okay, are you burning? Are your shoulders burning? Is it harder to focus?
What'd you say?
Yeah. What if right now we needed to focus in on something really important?
It's going to change your life.
Some kind of life-changing topic we really need to
$1 million
think clearly about. Would it be challenging?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? And you're like, can we please set the thing down?
I'm just watching the clock.
Right?
Literally, I'm like,
I don't even watch. Okay, we can set it down. Okay. The relief. Okay, but let me make the connection here. You guys, a lot of us are not holding up one thing. We've got our hands full of stuff. And some of you literally have armfuls of little things. And you're like, it's just these little things. But they're causing all this pain, all this burning, all this distraction. And we're sitting there with this armful of little stuff going, why can I not get things going in my life, right? And it's really causing a lot of disturbance.
It's really interesting because I think I directly attribute that to the experience we had in Venice when we lost our, how old was she at the time? 4?
2?
No, 3. She was probably
maybe 3.
We lost our 3-year-old in Venice for like 45 minutes. And For me,
not a cool moment right there, friends.
For me, I attribute it to that because it was all these little, we kind of had this crazy schedule we were keeping up with, touring Europe while he was working. And it was all these little things that were literally like starting to take up all this space in our minds. Like logistical planning, like you can't even believe. And we had to tour Venice, but he had just got back from a World War II trip. And, you know, we're discussing all the regular family stuff and work stuff. But while we're moving, like while we're traveling from Florence to Venice, and then the next day, this kid that had been staying with us, he had to fly out, but we have to go sightseeing in Venice because it's the only day, and he has to work. Like all
and we have to take a ferry over the night before to get him to the airport. It was crazy. It was this really crazy time.
Going through all of this, and then like, so we're walking around sightseeing Venice while we're discussing our itinerary and the logistics and all these other things. And then he's like, crap, I've got to start my class right now. So he runs off and leaves me here with the kids to go teach his class. And I'm still thinking about all of this and like just gone out of it. And the 3-year-old takes off following him. I didn't know this for like
had she
15,
been any
20
other
minutes.
of our children or any other most children, like it would have been fine. They would have stayed tight. But Sage is so confident, independent. She's like, I'm gonna go find my dad. See ya.
So anyways, I mean, of course we found her and it was a really cool experience. But as I thought through it, I'm like, what happened? Like, you know, how did that come about? Because I'm very cautious about, you know, just always keeping track of everyone. I'm not like a worrywart, but I'm aware. And so I thought through it, and this analogy I think plays in perfectly. And I think this happens in our life when sometimes, for me, it feels like my brain gets full. Sometimes our brain just gets so full of all these little things, right? It's nothing necessarily big. Sometimes it is big. Sometimes it's just a bunch of little things, and your brain gets full so that you don't have space in there to focus on things that really matter, right? That was a long discussion of Stacy's comment. Right? But that's how we do it around here.
But relevant, right?
Yes.
In fact, like the three of you that are here, do you feel that in your own lives? Like the task list of things you have to get done and these little pain points, like it's distracting, right?
Mind filling.
It is mind filling. So just quickly, before we move on though, just quickly, what are some effective ways? Let's get this out there for everyone that's here and watching the recording. What are effective ways to help alleviate some of that? Some of the mind overflow or some of the distraction? What's something that's worked for you? And I have some thoughts like that we can't just perpetually operate like that. Because like you start dropping the ball on everything.
Losing children. Forgetting
you're married, you know, things like that. You're like, oh, I forgot I have a husband. Sorry. Just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. Actually, that happens. Okay, Mary says create systems, get organized. Yeah, and that, of course, obviously takes some more work up front. But hashtag worth it.
Well, I know that works. Oh.
Go for it, Stacy.
And then I'll.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize. I was about to mute myself, but I guess I made a noise. Sorry.
You did.
I was just going to say, well, a couple of things came to mind. One is that I'm trying to figure out is sitting down and really thinking about the true value of certain things that I'm doing. Like, for example, I could show you, I was trying to see if my phone was really dirty, to show you the little icon with my email, my unread emails, and it's at 160,000 something right now. I'm not joking. I have proof right here. And I deleted 10,000 emails this morning. And as I was doing that, I got more and more cranky because I was like, I have things to do. And that's why I have 160,000 unread emails. So I was like, should I let this number bother me, or should I just forget about it? And obviously it'd be better to have a more organized inbox. But if it's going to take me a whole work week to figure out my deleting old emails that I'll never read. Is that worth my time? I don't know. Should I just archive them all and start fresh? Do you know what I mean? Because I was trying to go through each one and like delete everything from one, and it was just, and the bad thing is I've done it before. So it's been bad before and I fixed it, and now it's bad again because I don't have systems, but I don't stick with systems very well. And that's something I'm trying to work on. And so one idea that someone shared with me that does help me is because I don't do, like digital planning doesn't work that well for me because I don't look at my thing again. And obviously if it emails me, I'll just lose the email. So anyway, one thing.
It sends you email alerts to clear out your email box. You're like, don't, I never saw that.
Yeah, I don't. My kids laugh at me because I have a reminder to take this one supplement and it comes 3 times a day and I don't even see it anymore. I don't see it. They're like, Mom, did you take your blah, blah, blah? I'm like, what? I just can't. There's too many things to, like my brain is literally going to explode at the moment. And like, I mean, it's been so bad. This wasn't right now, but a few months ago, I realized I was in a bad place. I was driving and I put my car in reverse while I was driving for no reason. And that really scared me. And I was like, okay, you've got to take some stuff off your plate or you're going to kill yourself. I mean, that's how bad it is. Anyway, all that to say, something that I'm trying that does seem to help me and might help someone else who has this kind of distracted type of brain is I have a big whiteboard. And so I just do like a total, get it all out of my brain and write it down. And it's full. I mean, it's huge. If I put it on paper, it would be 10 pages long probably. But if I can see it, then I don't worry that I'm going to forget it, because that's the stress of like putting my car in reverse because I'm trying to remember all the things I have to do. And then also it's taking away some of my decision fatigue. So if I know I just have a little bit of time to work, I can look and see what things off my list could I do, in this situation. Like, is it time when the house is quiet and I can write, or is it time when the kids are here, but I can do some stuff that I don't have to concentrate so much on? So even though the list looks overwhelming, it helps in a way because I don't have to try to remember it all. And I don't have to put it on paper that I'll lose. Right. Or in an email that I'll never find.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, Stacy, thanks so much. I have a lot to say, but I'll let you go.
Me too. Just kidding. So, Stacy, have you read Getting Things Done by?
I know the book and I haven't read that, but you guys probably have heard of April Perry. Do you know her?
Okay.
So I've looked at her stuff.
Okay. Because I was about to say some of the things you're talking about.
David Allen.
Oh, David Allen. Yes. Thank you. Tied directly into that system. And she actually created a course based off of his system. But she talks about, you don't try and store things in your brain and try to remember and all that, but you write it down.
But we all do that perpetually.
Yeah.
Oh, remember this.
Right. And that's why our brains get, this way, because we're trying to remember it all. So he's like, write it down. But then you also have and you have this system, like, where you've written things down. It's on your whiteboard. Because you've got to have the system of remembering that it's there and checking it. That was just the first thing I want to say. I'll have more.
Love it. No, you nailed it. So as I've studied this and worked with people, like you hit on those key points, like get it out and get it down. And
and then the other thing, sorry, this was here, but see, my brain. Then the other thing you said is perfect. Like, once you have that list there, because we all have different levels of energy and like time available to work on something. But when we've got a list of different things, then when I've got 5 minutes and not very much energy, like, oh, I'll work on that. That's easy. So that's another part of doing this, is you've got a place where it's all written down, and then he even has you categorize it. Like, if you're or she does too, April Perry, if you're at your computer, here's things you could work on. If you're in the kitchen, here's things you could work on. If you're in the car, here's things you can work on. If you have time with just your phone, here's things you could work on. Like they categorize it so that no matter where you are, you could be working on a next step or all the stuff you have to do.
Love it, love it, love it.
Sorry.
Well, no, and this is, again, like what we started out with, like holding the small objects.
Yeah.
That same thing will happen, you guys, with
your brain.
With your brain, but you have to, like, if you need to make a decision about something, and you're like, I want to think about that for a minute. And then something else pops up, and you're like, well, I need to think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we pile up all these decisions, and then literally, like Stacey mentioned, decision fatigue, but there's like decision blockage. And so then you get people who are like, they just aren't taking action on anything in their lives. They're like, I really have been needing to get to the gym, but I just don't go. And sometimes it's literally just this pile of unmade decisions.
Or I equate it sometimes to, like, you know, Greg actually does this when he has hundreds and hundreds of tabs open on his browser, right? It's kind of like that. At some point it gets an overload and like the whole browser crashes because there's just too many tabs open.
And we are opening lots of tabs. So great thought there. Get it all out on paper. If you're a paper person, on a whiteboard is an excellent idea, into some Google Docs. Just get it down, and that literally frees up the space. Like Stacey was saying, is like, oh, okay, now I can look at one thing at a time and make some decisions and cross them off and erase them, and let's move forward. When you start making progress even in little steps. Now, if you're listening to this recording and this isn't happening in your life right now, don't worry, it will. Like as long as you're going somewhere in life, you're going to get these piles, and you've got to be able to organize the stuff, or you'll literally be carrying an armful of pain points through your entire life.
So I did actually read David Allen's book, and I did April Perry's course, and I both found they were super beneficial. Although, yeah, initially it's a little bit overwhelming because the whole strategy, again, her course is based off of his book, but geared towards moms, which is brilliant. But his whole strategy is you begin by literally going through everything in your life. Every piece of paper, every like corner and closet and cupboard and under the bed, like everything, and then putting it in order. Now he does say, I'm pretty sure he said in that book, like if you have an email box like that, he's like, just declare email bankruptcy and start from scratch. I thought at first you were going to say 160 emails, and I was like, wow, because I can't stand it if I get 30 emails. Like that drives me crazy. But he has like almost 1,000, and I'm like, ah.
Yeah, I need to do the same thing. I just need to go, like, anything over 2 months ago, just clean slate and start over. Email bankruptcy. I like that. Okay, one more thing that I really wanted to emphasize here. This is something I taught years ago, and it's fitting for this. And Stacey, you mentioned it, of just like valuating everything you're doing. Like, take an honest look and be like, does this really need to be a part of my life right now? Because we have to step back and be honest that not everything we're doing is of equal value, right? And a lot of times when I'm doing a lot of coaching sessions or working with people, you just find that they're stressed about things that really aren't even important to them. In fact, I bet we could go through here and we could each mention something that we're working on or something that's taking up space that literally is not even that important. And it's fascinating when I talk to people, when I meet with them, I'm like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. I'm like, okay, why are you giving this so much time and attention and effort? And that thought sometimes is like, oh, I don't know. Right. So, and I call it the exchange rate. I mean, I've literally been teaching this for years and years. What is the exchange rate? What is that thing or that idea or the pursuit, whatever it is, what is it costing you? What's it costing you mentally? What is it costing you emotionally? What is it costing you financially, physically, like spiritually? What is it costing you socially? And we'll often find that Like some things are just better off either really getting drastically minimalized or even removed from our lives. So as you, I don't know, this is super important stuff, you guys.
And if that's not an option, if it's something that has to be a part of your life, I think it's worth the effort of figuring out the best way to do it, like the best system. And that's something like I don't know, I really like doing. Like I love figuring out the best way to do everything I have to do in my life. Because even though it takes kind of this initial upfront investment of time and energy and stuff, I think in the long run, it's this phrase that Stephen R. Covey used that's always stuck with me. He talks about the simplicity on the far side of complexity. Like it might seem complex setting it up, but then it actually simplifies everything.
And I admittedly, when Rachel does that, I'm like, stop, what are you doing? It's too much.
You're just against complexity.
Like, come on!
Not the simplicity on the other side.
And I have not been cheering her on like, oh.
Mountain, man.
Yep, you gotta get through it. Okay, so honest coaching question right here for everybody. What's something you need to organize that you have been avoiding or just haven't gotten to? And you guys don't have to answer. You can share if you want to. But what's something in your life you know you need to get squared away?
I know partly for me, I'm always, again, there's all these phases and ups and downs. And the last couple of weeks, I feel like our little family system for chores and all that is unraveling just a little bit. So I'm like, okay, how do I level it up? How do I take it to the next level? Because I want to get to the point where I'm like solidifying not just the charts or whatever, but the principles of cleanliness and initiative, taking initiative, and all these things in the family. Preparing them for, I mean, there's multiple benefits to it. It's preparing them for adulthood, as well as making my job easier as the policeman. Right?
The enforcer.
The enforcer.
Love it. And that's something you have to revisit.
You're the enforcer.
Okay. Something you have to revisit a lot. And Mary, even the homeschool plan, right? As your kids are learning each year, you got to revisit that. And so there's another one. You got the oldest now high school age. Love it. Yeah.
And we're kind of pushing off I feel like I'm pushing off our start of our homeschool year because we're planning to move next month to Georgia. So I don't want to.
But we go through the summer.
Yeah, we're doing a light
schedule. So we go around. Okay, cool stuff. So Stacey's saying family routines, homeschool plans.
High school age.
Gosh, for a long time I really needed to get my filing system. So I'm constantly consuming ideas and writing. I write a ton and I'm making notes. I feel like I'm so much better now. I've got all my files organized. I think the one thing I really need to get a handle on, I take all my notes now. I used to write in my journals, but I had journals everywhere, right? And I never got back to them. So I take all my notes on my iPhone now. And I'll just even tell you guys right now, just so full accountability right here. Oh, shoot. That's ugly. In one folder, I have 206 ideas. And in the other one, I have 631. So I've got some work to do to get down to those. So that's the thing I'm going to work on. And I'm going to make an open commitment right now to just pound that 206 folder this week. Whoa. I'm writing it down. I'm doing it. Okay.
Are we going to see you? Or?
So let it be written. So let it be done.
Let it be written on his little piece of
on my little piece of paper. No, and I'm going to write it right here. And I'm going to make an alarm. Oh, I'm going to set an alarm. I'm going to set an alarm on my phone because that works for me. Okay. We in? Everybody in? Yeah, let's do it. Okay. We can totally shift gears here now.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other questions concerning anything else you guys want to focus on? If not, I've got something. Rachel has something. Here's your chance. Ready, set, go. Boom. All right. So here's what I've been thinking about. I think about this a ton, and it's been on my mind a lot lately. So I'm going to screen share with you.
Oh, sorry, I pulled up the planner.
Yes, you did.
You can just go to that.
So is it here? Is it this?
Oh, that's the planner right there.
Oh, right here. So if I go here and I move this little guy, then I can go here and show you this. So you've probably all heard of the hero's journey, right? It's basically this idea from what's his name's blanking me right now.
Is that
Joseph Campbell. So he talked about the hero's journey, and this is in like every story. So you go back to like ancient stories and story writing. When stories first started coming out, the first through the Odyssey and the Iliad and all these things. And then it's like you see this pattern. Once you learn about the hero's journey, you literally see this pattern in every great book and every great movie and every great story. It has this pattern. But what's fascinating, and we read this in one of our all-time favorite books, it's called A Million Miles in 1,000 Years. He said, guess what? The same things that make a really great story also make a really great life. And that's true for us. And every one of us is on our own unique hero's journey, right? And as we're on this journey, it's worth revisiting like times and seasons and periods along our journey and what we're facing and evaluating how we're doing on that. And so one of the things I've been thinking, I'm like, we got to do this today, because like in the School of Awesome Sauce, in raising families, in marriage, in parenting, in home education, in personal development, in staying healthy. Like it's all this journey. It's the hero's journey, right? And oh, you guys, I love this idea. Actually, I think I made a video about it or a podcast about it or something. I can't remember. But it's like, hey, you know what? Every point, at any point in every point of our lives, we can be working towards like our best selves. I know some of us kind of, you guys ever do this where you get somewhere you're like, I've given up on, keeping the house clean because we have small children, right? Or you just think, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with this or that or whatever, right? But at any point, we can be working on being in the best health of our lives. Isn't that cool? At any moment, we can say, you know what, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. Any moment. At any moment, we can do the same thing mentally. Be like, you know what? I'm turning it on. I'm going after my education. I'm going to be learning new, cool things. And it seems like Mary's doing that right now because she's going after the home education. She's going after homeschool plans. She's going after ESL certifications. And she said she's going after a marketing thing. I think it was in there, in all the notes. And Stacey, I know you've been doing that with your business too, just going gangbusters after, right? And wherever we are in life, we can be like, okay, you know, I'm going for the best part. So here's the hero's journey. Oh, it moved. They're both the same. It really doesn't matter. There's just two different drawings here. So it all starts right here with the call to action. And the call to action can be anything. And it's different for each area of our life.
Or the call to adventure is on the other one.
Yeah, the call to adventure.
Yeah.
And that can be, sometimes it's a pain point. Like a real obvious one.
I am tired of this. No more.
Yeah, I'm so sick of this. It's done, right? And so you get in, you usually look for some help. You go out, you try to find a mentor.
Or the mentor appears.
And the mentor magically appears.
The student is ready.
Or a mentor just shows up and be like, hey, you're really sucking at that right now, and you should not suck at that. So let's do something about it, right? But at any point, then we cross this threshold, right? And it's the first threshold where you enter the mysterious world. Let's go to this one. You like this one?
Yeah.
Rachel likes this one. So you start here, call to adventure, you meet your mentor, you cross this threshold. From
the normal world into the unknown.
Okay, now what does this look like? I want to hear from you guys. Like you can jump on chat here on the mic. Like in our lives, what is this? What's this crossing of the threshold? And often, like, a lot of people avoid this. they will not get on the hero's journey. They won't be the hero of their own life story, because I think this spot right here. So what is it? What is crossing the threshold?
So for us, I think it was leaving the business we had, moving to RV, just trying to figure out what's going to work for us, which we did like, I don't know, last October. And I think right now we're in the growth and new skills part.
Yes.
I think.
And how does that feel? So well, actually, how did both of those feel? So that's actually a really clear, that's kind of a clear one. And like, hey, we left the business we had, moved into RV. That's like crossing a threshold. Like you're leaving the normal world. It's awesome, right? It's intimidating, spiteful. But how's it feel right now to be in the growth and new skills?
Right now, scary. And like, I'm not even sure if we're on the right path or if we're working on the right skills, and probably way too many things happening all at once. But we're starting to see that we think we're on the right path.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I love that. Okay. Stacy says, crossing a threshold is moving away from things you know. Yeah. Things you're comfortable with, familiar with, things you're skilled at. I mean, starting a new skill set or a new career or a new way of being or a new hobby, man, yeah, being a beginner, that is tough and it is uncomfortable, especially as you get further along and you become really good at something. To step away from that seems so intimidating, right? And literally, you guys, that's why most people stop. And many really genuinely good people, smart people, talented people never rise to be the hero of their own stories because they're afraid of the unknown. They're intimidated by what it might require. It takes a lot of courage and stamina and discipline and determination, perseverance to do this, like to pull the trigger on something like this. Whoa, isn't that exciting? It's terrifying.
Which again, I mean, it doesn't, sometimes this hero's journey happens just inside. Like you may not go anywhere. Right. You may stay in the same physical location, but it's this mental journey that you're undertaking. So I mean, it looks different for everyone, but it involves this going into the unknown and going through this whole process. Every time it's going to be mental, but sometimes it does include the physical aspects, the physical changes, the physical.
It could literally be starting a new business, learning a new language, choosing to homeschool, choosing not to homeschool. Like it can be any of those things, like picking up a new skill set or hobby or sport or whatever. I guess and Mary, thank you for articulating what you're feeling. Like that's that whole section of the trials and failures and growth of new skills, the discomfort, the doubt, the wondering,
that lead
like
to death.
Read the death. Like this,
and
the drawing doesn't look very hopeful.
Yeah.
But oh, you're gonna say something.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, I've seen this drawn so many different ways. There's a lot of different ways with different words describing different parts of the journey, and I think that's insightful too, the way people interpret it differently. I know for me, there's another chart or drawing where when you cross back into the normal world, you return to this world changed. You are different. And then there's another one that talks about how you bring the, depending on the version, the elixir. You're bringing something back with you to the normal world. Okay, so the gift. But it's, as I did some more research on that, it's essentially this whole idea of that now you return change and you're bringing something back that you can share with the normal world. So it's this journey that you go on. And I think if we if you compare it with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and how at the very top, it's all about, self-actualization. It's about being able to offer the world something, like being able to contribute to the world. I think that's where it comes into play for me, where it's so beautiful that you go on this journey so that you can be able to offer guidance, support, counsel, inspiration, whatever it is, to other people who are starting the journey, who are starting their own journey. And it's this beautiful cycle, almost all these circles intersecting with other circles that are happening, right? And we're either at one place, we are the mentor on someone else's journey, or maybe we're the helper, or maybe we're their antagonist. Like maybe we're the bad guy in their journey, right? But all these circles are intersecting as we all are taking on our journey. But at some point, the goal is that we become the bearer of the gifts, the bearer of the elixir, the bringing the benefit to the normal world, and then, mentoring others as they begin their call to adventure and they begin their hero's journey.
You guys, is this hitting home a little bit here? Every time I go over this, I've been over this, I've taught from this from years. Every time I go over it, it strikes me forcefully like this is my personal journey. And this matters so much. And like Rachel's saying, like we could simultaneously be at different places on this for different things.
For different people. So Mary might now, right, be like the called to adventure because you got your first child, your oldest child is going into like high school for the homeschool years, right? But you're also on new skills and growth for like the business and lifestyle, right? And some of you right now be like, I am death. I am death. I had a call yesterday, with a guy that, a good guy, super great guy, been really successful at a lot of things. And he just told me on the phone, he's like, I feel like I'm dying inside. Like I got nothing right now and it's crushing me. And I can see it starting to have a negative effect on my marriage, on my parenting, my work, my health. It's crushing me. Right? And so now what we're going to do is we're going to call him out to adventure. And each of us. Well, and that's interesting because I think you'd have to dig in to get a little philosophical here. That's interesting too, because I know sometimes I've seen another one where they actually have refusal of the call.
Right here. That's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And you start to.
Well, and sometimes it's before meeting the mentor, you have the refusal of the call. You have the call of the adventure and then you refuse the call. And I think sometimes that people can get stuck there too.
Yep.
I don't know. He may not be in depth.
Oh, yeah, no. And
he might be at refusal of the call.
Yep.
You feel the call to adventure and you refuse it. I think that can also produce a lot of turmoil, and
that's where the real hurt starts to come, right? You guys, or when you refuse to cross the threshold, or you refuse to call, that is so true.
Not that the rest of it's not difficult, and not that death is going to feel.
And some people stop. I guess this was one thing I was thinking. Some people stop right here. The trials and failures, like I'm done, and they stay right here.
Or
the
they
new
go
growth
back
and
to the normal world.
Yeah, they turn around, head back up, or whatever. And this, let me clarify real quick. This death right here is the death of the old you.
Yeah.
It's the death that needs to happen. This isn't like horrible death and hell and why did I ever go on this journey? I should go back and take up residence on my couch, right? The kind of death we're talking about is leaving the old person, the old ways, the old thoughts and fears and doubts and insecurities and like the old way of being completely unorganized, right? Your life was just unorganized matter. There's so many ways to do this, to go from being a hoarder to a minimalist or whatever, or just like I didn't care about anything, but now I'm getting an education. I'm in life, the awakening. The awakening. That's what this is to me. This death and rebirth is the awakening of the old ways of doing things.
Well, maybe we have to define our term, the awakening. What that means.
When I'm mentoring youth or adults, like after a little bit of time with discussions and books and things, all of a sudden we have this awakening. And I see it all the time. I constantly see it with people in coaching. There's this awakening.
It's like a major aha, but like,
whoa, I'll never be able to do life the way I used to do life. right? It's this awakening to happen. And it's so fun and so exciting to see it. It's like, I love it. So we call that the awakening. But like what I want to say to all of us is like, where are we at? And again, maybe we're on different journeys, but where are you at on this? And if you're here in this call to adventure stage, you're crossing a threshold and you're holding back because of fear, you can get into this cycle that leaves you there and you feel stuck. Yeah, you're perpetually there. You feel stuck, you feel trapped, you feel helpless. You feel like you don't have any real control in your life, and you start to feel like you're dying inside. And where we have to like step into this space where you got to cross the threshold and get into it. So I don't know, wherever you are on your journey here.
Well, and again,
it's powerful.
You brought up a great point that we could be on this journey in different areas, in different parts of our life. So physically, we could be in one place, but mentally or spiritually or emotionally or financially or whatever, we could be in a totally different place. So almost in every area of our life, you've got to be like, okay, where am I on the hero's journey when it comes to my business or my parenting or my marriage?
Yeah, love this. So, where you at? That's a hard question. Let's do this. Where are you at in your life as a whole? Where are you at just overall? Because some of you might be like, in business, I'm over here, in marriage, I'm over here, family, I'm over here. But your life as a whole, and this happens repeatedly. Like we go around and we get to a new level and a new level and a new level. Like, so we're going like, where are you at right now in your life as a whole?
Because I know we have gone through this
multiple times.
A couple times.
Yep.
But it's something you keep repeating, right, as you keep leveling
and every
up.
time it's intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we get to the threshold, Rachel and I talk about crossing the Rubicon with Julius Caesar, right? This is like, oh.
And I'm like, how many times do we have to cross this dang Rubicon?
Yeah, exactly. We keep crossing back and forth across this river.
Well, maybe you need to explain the crossing the Rubicon.
You guys know that story? I've told it in here before. Remember crossing the Rubicon? So Caesar, any Roman army that went in against Rome, they had to cross that river. And if they ever crossed that river, crossing the river Rubicon, if you brought an army across that river with intention to go against Rome, it was conquer or perish. It was treason. They would kill you. It was death. Like, there's no like, oh, we're sorry, we didn't mean to, we were just kidding. Like, no, like, you cross that river as a threat, you die. And so Julius Caesar camped that night on the far side of the Rubicon, and in the morning he led his troops across. He knew we either win or we will die.
Yeah, it's pretty much the idea of conquer or perish. You either do what you're setting out to do or you die. So whenever we face some difficult, circumstance or decision, we're like, well, are we going to cross the Rubicon on this or not?
And we do.
And we usually do.
Every time.
I know.
Because we always say to her, what would make a better story? Burn our ships and go for it. Stacey's saying, not sure. I think I might be on the cusp of crossing the threshold. I think I might have turned back a few times. And man, we have turned back many times we often feel this frustration and discontent when we acknowledge we're turning back. Okay, here's the most important part, and I want to hear a lot from you. What can you and I do? And I want to hear your thoughts here. This is like a Socratic discussion now. What must we do in order to keep progressing on this hero's journey? Many good people fail to reach greatness because they won't examine that question. Like, really honestly. So what must you and I do in order to continue progressing on our own hero's journey?
One thing that just came to my mind is just simply to keep walking forward. I was stuck painting my garage yesterday, and I was listening to James Clear's book, The Atomic Habits book. And he tells the story, you've probably heard it. I'm sure you guys have read it. Yeah. About where he talks about the ice melting and how you turn the degree up, it starts at like 25 degrees and you turn it up to 26 degrees and nothing changes. You turn it up to 27 degrees, nothing changes. And finally you get to 32 degrees and the ice will start to melt. And the example was that so many people give up because nothing's happening when you just keep taking the steps, and eventually it all, moves you where you're wanting to go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, thank you so much for sharing that. I have not read that book yet. I just got it. But that imagery right there is spot on. And you know what's kind of crushing about that? Is you could go from 25 to 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 and just be like,
it's not working.
This is retarded. I've spent all this time and effort and energy. I'm done. And you walk away.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story told, supposedly a true story told about some gold miners in in 49 who came out, bought a mine, and were digging, and just got little bits and pieces and dug and spent his fortune and risked everything and dug and never got anything. He just gave up, sold his mine, just went back a broken man in more ways than one. Went back east. The guy who bought the mine got in there, dug 3 feet, and found one of the largest seams of gold that was discovered in the Rockies. He stopped 3 feet short. And I mean, you understand though, the guy's like, I dug forever and I could dig down to China through this mountain and never find any gold. Right. But then there's that lesson of like, hey, and Mary's asking this right now, are we on the right path? Are we doing the right things? But if you can get some clarity, especially, from a mentor or someone who's done it and just bounce some ideas off, make sure you're not crazy. Because some of our ideas are straight crazy, right? And you're like, yeah, that is crazy. But if you can bounce some ideas off people you trust, people who've been there, and they're like, no, that's right. Just keep moving forward. Then don't stop at 30 degrees. 2 more, and you're going to start getting some serious results. So I love that, Stacey. Just keep moving forward. But I will say this. I see this tons as I'm coaching people. We stop a lot right here and right here. Mentally and emotionally, we practice self-sabotage.
And I know for me, part of the reason I do that is because there starts to be this disconnect. Because from where we are to where our goals are, like we've got to get the big vision, right? And like the inspirational, like, yeah, that's what I'm after. But in between here and there is really just like daily actions, daily baby steps, which tend to get kind of boring and monotonous. And I know when you get into that, you're kind of like, why am I even doing this? Like, what is the point?
This big, exciting goal doesn't seem so exciting.
Yeah, like all I have to do is like send out these emails and like do this. Like, it's so boring. Why am I not swimming in the pool or like whatever, So when we get that disconnect and we lose the vision of why the day-to-day actions matter, then that's when it's easy for us to, whatever you said.
Self-sabotage. Yeah.
At least for me, that's what happens.
Great insight.
We have to somehow be able to connect the daily actions to the big vision. And maybe that's why, the vision boards matter or help. I've got some stuff hanging up right by my desk. So if I ever feel like, what am I doing? Oh yeah, okay. These are the things. This is the big picture of why this matters.
So good. So good. Okay,
couple
more thoughts. Like just a couple more thoughts. Why is it? What do you and I? What must we do to keep moving forward on our hero's journey? Any thoughts from Joseph or Mary or Ken Bopawan? If you're talking right now, we can't hear you.
If you're sitting in silence, Greg will keep waiting.
So I'm thinking that's where something like this comes in handy, like a group of people who you can bounce ideas off of and learn from, or who've been there. I mean, maybe other groups too, depending on what kind of thing we're talking about. But people around you have done it or are doing it.
Yes. Having a tribe, because doing this alone is like,
it's lonely.
Oh, it's brutal. And if you're trying to go it alone, it's crushing. You're spot on, Mary. And you can look for a tribe. Let's say you're trying to learn a new instrument or a new language. Like if you can find a tribe around that, it's going to motivate you. Oh, in fact, like this is why CrossFit gyms exploded across this country, because they made them tribal. Like that was their secret sauce. It became your tribe. And so people who did not want to show up and work out that hard showed up and worked out that hard because they had their tribe. It just works like magic. So like if you're getting in, maybe you probably have the ESL tribe, Mary, and even, marketing tribes, but like whatever it is, you're spot on. Like surround yourself with people that are going to encourage you and cheer you on and give you some correction. Like that makes a difference. Man, it feels lonely sometimes. Whoa. Okay, any other thoughts? I'll share one last thought. It's on my mind. Nothing else. Yeah, we can stop sharing. So it's this idea of boldly committing to what I call the quest for excellence. Like at some point, it's just committing. Like, you know what? I will. It's like I think it was Descartes, the French philosopher Descartes said, "I will either find a way or I will make one." It's like I'm in. I'm going all the way here. Like I'm going on this journey, as hard as it's going to be, as intimidating as it's going to be, as much work as it is. If I'm 100% certain, like this is part of my path, these are part of my priorities, like this matters to me, it's really meaningful and fulfilling, and it's not like I'm not, sacrificing my family or my health to follow some pipe dream, but like this is legit, then dig in and commit to it, because the only other outcome is mediocrity. For me personally, this may not be for everybody. For me personally, my greatest fear is getting to in my life and look back and like, that was pretty mediocre. Like, like crushing. Like I want to live a great life, and each of us is going to live great on different terms. So this is totally relative to you, right? It's not mine or your, like, it's all unique. But I know how I define it.
And I know we've had discussions before about some people get hung up on that idea of mediocrity and greatness, excellence. And ultimately, it does come back to that. It depends on how you define it. And usually mediocrity for you is whatever it is you're discontent with.
Yes.
It's the excellence for you is like what it is you want. Right? So
it's any point where you feel like you've settled for less than you know you could do. Anytime you cut back and held back from your potential, it's not by my standards or Rachel's or anybody else's standards. It's your own.
Only you know.
Yeah, and only you know that, where you have settled for less. And at that point, it's just, gut-wrenching. And so I want to just, with love and encouragement and coaching right here, just like actually just give you a shot of inspiration, motivation, encouragement. Like keep living the story, keep going for it, keep the excitement, keep the vision of what you're working for, dig in those periods of trials and failure and growth and new skills. And when the old part of you is dying, because I'll be the first to say, I have old parts of me that need to die, right? Limiting beliefs, bad habits, whatever, right? Fears, insecurities, like anything I'm carrying around that's holding me back is the old part that needs to die. And it has to go through the death part. And I don't know that death is ever going to be easy or uncomfortable. But that part of me has to die in order for the new me to come out. So let's die together. Let's die together, friends. Oh man, do not let this recording get out of context right there. Oh man, no, let's keep going on this hero's journey, because that's what makes life wonderful and exciting and fun and thrilling and great. I love it. Okay, you guys are awesome. Love you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your insights. I always walk away from these inspired and taught and motivated to do great things. You guys are the best. So
Mary did say if we could share the link to the hero's journey.
So all I did, Mary, is I searched hero's journey and images, and this was like halfway down the first page, and I really liked this one, the first two we looked at. So
there's a lot of versions.
There's tons of versions. Okay, love you guys. You're the best. Reach upward.